want to welcome you to another edition of our New Jack Swing podcast. Sorry, we're slightly late. It just seems real strange that just as we're about to come on, two of the three of us started having some little technical difficulties, but that seems to be temporary resolved, but hopefully permanently resolved. But anyway, Stevie, Sheldon, how are you guys doing?
Very good evening.
Okay.
Very good evening. Very doing well.
Have you been playing basketball, Sheldon?
I have a very, very long time. Been a while.
Yes. Okay.
It's been a while since he's done any slam dunking. Instead of slam dunking, he's been doing some. He's been doing Dunkin' Donuts instead.
That's yeah.
We want to welcome everyone who's joining us. Old School Flavor, Colin and Mac, Joseph. Welcome. Who else? Baseline G, welcome as well. Thanks you guys for being with us on Sunday as we go through the Cooleyhighharmony album by Boys to Men. 10 songs, so we're just going to put them in order. Hey Dallas, welcome as well. But anyway, just before we get into that, Teddy Super Strong Bear, welcome as well. Any updates or news from you, Stevie, then you, Sheldon?
I'm enjoying the new. I won't say it's that new. Is it Sabrina Carter? That is it. Cappuccino Espresso song that she's got out at the moment. Really enjoying that. It's a little funky pop record. Very, very, very catchy. It's got a groove to it. You know, it makes you feel good. It's what you miss in pop music, really.
Okay.
Yeah, Carter she's called.
Yes, it shows that pop music is definitely still on and popping. What about you, Sheldon?
SWV is doing an upcoming Tiny Death session. I don't know if you're familiar with the Tiny Death session. Is that there is a live performance that a lot of artists do, and they do it like in a small room. They call it a Tiny Desk. It's almost like a small library, and a lot of classic artists from 80s and 90s, they have done it. They performed it with a live band behind them. So that's what's up with them. One thing be find a way to like how now, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it is from a group that disbanded, went their separate ways, and it felt like all life had just fallen apart. Lily gets a 9 to 5. Taj marries an NFL footballer, so she's like, that's cool for me. And then Coco, does the solo stuff, it doesn't work out. Then does the church stuff, doesn't work out. And they come back, and the reality TV stuff was almost the worst thing they could have done, but they're just on another level. So it's just amazing how if you stay true to what you're doing, you get celebrated like that. And then they're about to kick off their national tour with Escape and 702. So it's just amazing how they've just transformed and how they're just being pushed to another level. So I had nothing but love for those girls, and I'm just fortunate that I got them before things really took off, because you can't get any of them now. Before I could message Lily, what's going on, and we'd have a little chat. Yeah, no, that's those days. I'm kind of gone now. They're too busy now for me. So yeah. What about you? Okay, Stevie. Did you would talk about the Prince stuff, Stevie?
Prince stuff.
I thought you got his new sort of a new album or something like that, a reissued album, or was it Prince? Okay, that was.
We did a good interview the other, was it Thursday evening, with Miss Trisha Covington. For those who haven't checked it out yet, she's got another amazing story to tell about her career, how she got signed to Columbia Records, worked with like to Kyle West, Kenny Smooth from the Untouchables. Yeah, a good interview that. If any of you get time to watch it, she really poured her heart and soul into that interview, didn't she, Namdi?
Yeah, I think the biggest reveal I thought was Joseph Stonestreet from
Yeah,
Blackstreet.
a lot about him.
Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest things. Okay. Yes, and I think Mac and Joseph have just pointed out that Usher is going to be receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award at the upcoming BET Awards. Yeah, it seems strange that Usher is, because he still looks like the little kid that did My Way and You Remind Me. So the fact that he's now being given a Lifetime Achievement Award, back in the day, those were given to you when you were 70s, and just like you could barely walk, and it's like, okay, let's give you a Lifetime Achievement Award. He still looks like he's the Usher who came out from the face. So it just doesn't see. I mean, I don't know. It used to be the kiss of death to get a Lifetime Achievement Award, but what do you guys think? Do you think it's? Oh, we got a Dalek in the house.
Long period of time. So once they started to award business, for a pretty long time.
I didn't quite catch that. Did you, Nandi? There was a bit of
I heard a long time. That was as much as I could hear.
Yeah.
Sheldon, are you still there? I don't. It's funny because camera was at the side and he was very clear and everything. And he seems like he moved it right to the middle. And somebody just asked about D Train. Have you seen it? They're out. They're out. D Train is back.
He does tracks from time to time. He ends up on like some house garagey type things.
I think he's out with a new album. I never got into D Train. Not that I've never gone. I never really. Yes, I didn't really know. Is it The System? Was that?
No, he did. He had a big 80s like disco hit with You're the One for Me.
Okay.
And then towards the late 80s, he put a couple of albums out that a lot of the soul collectors played tracks from, but he's always flitted between like soul music and like garagey dance type music and like synth pop and boogie. But he's got a great voice. Old D, got a fantastic voice.
Okay.
An interview with him, I'm sure it'd be really good. I'm sure he'd have lots to say if you get hold of him.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and I think he's toured. I did see him in the UK, so I think he's doing some shows around. So yeah, I'll put some calls out. Okay, Sheldon looks. Yeah. So what were you saying about this Lifetime Achievement Award just before we get into the Boyz II Men stuff?
Yeah, I was just saying that for a long
time. He looks great. Okay.
So for a long time, I don't know. That making me laugh. It's funny, man. They didn't have it. They didn't have Lifetime Achievement Awards. So, by the time it started coming up with those awards on the R&B side, they were trying to play catch up. So everybody was older. So when you saw it, it was like, okay, these people are in their 50s, 60s, maybe a little bit older. So, but then when you look at Usher now, Usher's knocking at the door at 50, but how he looks, 50 years old now in 2024 is different from somebody that's 50 years old like 20 or 30 years ago, so.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it makes sense and stuff. Okay.
30 years in the game. Think about it. 30 years in the game. 31 years.
Yeah, it's amazing. Anyway, guys, so we are going to do, we're looking at the Cooleyhighharmony album. We're looking at the original release that came out in 91. They re-released it after the success of End of the Road, and then they put in some remixes on. So yeah, so the one Stevie has.
That's
so
the original release.
The original release, not
10
the one.
tracks, so we can't leave anything off it. There's no.
Yes.
We can't leave anything off this tonight.
Yes, yeah. So it is going to be the original. The original track, and as I said, we are going to be looking at
that's the European release, which they extended it by a further 6 tracks and included End of the Road, but we're not reviewing that tonight.
Yeah,
because the End of the Road just doesn't sound like anything. Don't really. Again, it's another track that doesn't fit for me, like with the Jodeci Cherish thing. But let's discuss this cover. Yeah, I love this album cover.
Yeah,
I really love it. it. You know, I don't know where it was taken. It may be in Philly somewhere. Is anyone from Philly in the house tonight?
Yeah, I
Could
think
probably
that's like
locate that album cover.
yeah, that's like I think like the Philadelphia Museum of Art. That's like that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's downtown in Philadelphia. Yeah.
Oh, Joseph said I looked online and there's another expanded edition with a few
Yeah,
unreleased songs.
it's like a 30 tracker that came out about 10 years ago that a lot of collectors picked. The unreleased tracks were fantastic though. They were really, I can't believe they left them off. They could have put them on this. There's enough space left.
Yeah, but back in the day they were just doing 10, that was the 10 songs, and then that was just, they went from 8 in the late 80s, then they went to 10. Then I think from some crazy reason in 93 they started going to 16 tracks and adding a Stevie Wonder one there as well.
And you've got production
Sevignon,
between
welcome.
Dallas Austin and the characters. So I think we've got two tracks produced by the characters, and the rest of it is produced by Dallas Austin and executively produced by Bib 10 Entertainment.
Okay, so a preview. Sheldon and I spoke to Miss Joyce Irvie, and she hits heavily about this. She discovered Dallas when he was 15.
Wow.
He was signed to her when that album was put on, and they strong armed her. So yes, so that look out for that.
So we could have ended up with like Joyce Irvie produced tracks then, I suppose, if it had gone her way.
They were doing they both worked on the 3 songs for the Attitude album with Troop, and they were planning on doing a lot of stuff, and so they pushed her out the way. So so it's still a big thing. It's still a big thing.
Now, listen, viewers, we're gonna have to put up with Sheldon tonight. It's gonna be we're gonna be doing a bit of slam dunking every time he comes out.
Okay.
And I didn't do anything. It just closed me out on his own.
Okay. So we got some. Okay, so we've got some. Derek, welcome. Marco, welcome. Miss Sevignon, welcome. And Red Bliss Production, yes, welcome today. So, as I said, Stevie's held up the album, the version that we're going through. It is the original 10-track and debut album. But as we go into it, when you listen to this compared to the Forever My Lady album, what was your thoughts on when you compared the two? Did it give you a different appreciation for one?
There's only one comparison you can make, and both albums have a slow side and an up-tempo side. But that's where the comparisons stop, I think, for me. But Sheldon, I'm sure you got a lot to say.
When I went back and I listened to the album, it made me see them. When you look at it, it put them as the two contemporary groups. They were, it immediately solidified them as contemporaries. And the reason why I say that is because, of course, there were everybody else putting out music, but those first albums that they both put out, it kind of like sealed their sonic, their vocal, their visual identity. So when you listen to those songs, obviously there's a lot of ballads on them, but it kind of like sealed their identity. It's not like, they had to wait to put out a second or a third album to come into their own. Even though you start seeing the foundation of what will happen later with Boyz II Men, with the future records, man. But I just think that those records collectively, when you make that comparison, they're similar in that they were perfect in establishing a strong identity. And it may have something to do with the fact that there was really singular production on both of the albums. That plays a part. When you got one producer primarily, on the entire album, it really sets the tone for introducing the artist. So I see the similarities there, and that's what kind of might set them apart from everybody else who either was out at the time or who would come out after. So, yeah.
Yeah, but as I said, I think I listened to the album and I thought, before I used to think, there's a balance between Cooleyhighharmony and Forever My Lady. But I think after listening to the two over this past week back to back, I think Forever My Lady really much stronger album, much memorable songs, and this was a good sort of debut album from Boys to Men, and I think they got better, and it was a different story for Jodeci. But that's you know that's where we are.
Namdi, you've grown about 3 feet in the last 1 minute. Oh, how you managed that? It's incredible. It's like
It is.
you thrill a moment there. You just
It is the camera moment. It is the camera moment. Kurt M, welcome. And okay, first I'm Kurt, another powerhouse. Okay, so and got your recordings. Welcome as well. Okay, so let's start off. And so last week I went first when we did For My Lady.
I think you went first. No, it was me. No, I'm sure I went first.
You were the last person.
In fact, go with Sheldon.
It started with me, went with Sheldon, then you came last. So we'll start with Sheldon, then you go second, and I go last. Right. So Sheldon, what makes it's number 10 on your track?
Your Love. That's my number 10.
Okay.
Your love it.
So you weren't really feeling it that much.
Yeah, that's my number 10. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was one of the two characters' tracks. Your Love. You didn't like that? Did you not really feel that one, Sheldon?
When I'll just say that something's got to be number 10. Something's got to be number 10. And I just think when I went back and listened to the records, obviously it's a good record. But in terms of like standout, again for a filler for a non-album single, it's good. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong, because it wouldn't have made the album. And I think when I listened to both of those records that they were doing, it kind of set the tone for the people who they would work with later on. So you start seeing the foundation, because remember, when they did this, they're coming out right around a year after, 6 to 8 months after they're doing it Today. They did some songs on the Today, the new Formula album. So you start seeing the foundation of what they will be doing with future artists. So yeah, that's my number 10.
Okay. What about you, Stevie?
Well, just to further that, I think the same year they did some production on an album by another male group called Phase. And that track, Your Love, kind of reminds me of some of the production on the Phase album. Some of you new jackers out there might have bought they were signed to RCA. But obviously, it just kind of reminds me of that. But my number 10, I'll be honest, these two kind of music kind of genres that I find a bit boring, guys. One of them like well, it's not a genre, is it? It's just a style. Acoustic versions, when people they release a track and then they'll, after it, there's this trend at the moment to release an acoustic version, just the singer and the guitar. It's nice, but it just reminds me of busking in the street. Like buskers who've got a guitar and jangle guitar and sing. And the other little thing that kind of, I've never been a great fan of it, is a cappella. I know doo-wop, the roots of R&B is probably 50s doo-wop rock and roll. But I've never been a huge fan of a cappella. Old Take 6 were really good at it. So that leads me to my number 10, which is the only song that's got no drums or anything on it. It's just an a cappella. It's done very, very well, don't get me wrong. But it felt like a filler to me. It's so hard to say, it's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday.
Okay.
That's my number 10. I didn't really play that.
They did that record. That was Michael Bivins' contribution to the album, because he suggested that they do that record. So when you hear it, but it
that's a shame. Don't slam dunking again.
Michael Bivins probably came after him to say, man.
They're coming after me.
But I'm surprised you mentioned the a cappella stuff, because if you remember, one of the best a cappella songs that came out in the 90s was Shy, If I Ever Fall in Love.
Again, I weren't a big fan of that record. That's
You
what
weren't a
I'm
big
saying.
fan.
Yeah, you guys disappeared on me. Yeah, so Dallas, fan of Take Six, he did an interview and he was about he liked Take Six. He was excited about working with an R&B. It was his suggestion to take Six and do them over pop songs. So they were already doing that. They were singing a song like that, and because coming out of Philadelphia, where they were like, that was the vocal style. It was his idea of taking that sound and then doing it a young version of it. But it was Michael Bivins who came up with the suggestion to use that record, and I think that record. Obviously, Motown Philly was the single, but I think that was the thing that gave the stage.
Marco Crawford. It's a funeral song. Wow.
Yeah, I think they used it.
For me, it's a busking type situation. You're on the corner of the street. These four guys. It sounds great on the corner of the street.
Yeah,
Say like a guitar, and you're in the street. You're doing a bit of an acoustic in the street or on a live gig. It sounds great then, but can you put a full CD on of a cappella and listen to it?
No, but I think if it's part of the album,
I can't do it.
If it was part of the album, but it was. I remember in the video version they showed people who had died. Jim Henson, I always remember his video showing up. But yeah, it's strange that it was at the time it sort of felt good. It wasn't one that you just, but it did well for them. It charted well. And as Sheldon says,
I don't dislike it, but I just didn't play it much. That's all. And that's why it's at number 10.
Okay. Yes. So we've just gotten to Stevie's number 10, which was, and then Sheldon's number 10 was Your Love. My number 10 is a song one of the songs in the album that I think it's probably the production. I just puts me to sleep all the time. This Is My Heart. My least favorite song on the album. This Is My Heart.
Wow.
Loving you, kissing you, holding you tight. Do you love me?
Oh.
Doom, doom.
It just wrong with you.
It is, yeah. As I said, powerful tracks on the album, but that's the one that. Okay. Colin said that was the tribute to their manager.
Fair play.
It was. It was just. Yeah, it was. Yeah. 10 songs, but that was my least favorite on the album.
Interesting.
Loving you, kissing you, holding you tight.
You know the lyrics well, though, don't you? You can sing it. You can sing it well.
I think it's the production. I think it's I think it's just doom 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 doom. There's something about how it plays. It reminds me when I was back in school, and I was used to listen to the album all the time. Always the least favorite of mine on the album. And I know some people, Miss Sauvignon loves it. I love This Is My Heart, but yeah, and it was yes, love, yes, but it's number 10 on a beautiful album. Sheldon, what's your number 9?
Little Things.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Why?
Living in the light.
My number 9.
Why, Sheldon? He's gone.
He must be having thunder and lightning. Okay, he's back again.
Basically, he's picked already the 2 characters tracks.
Okay.
As he's so he's obviously not a fan of the characters then.
Yeah, I guess stylistically, I mean, Sheldon would probably best say that, but I guess it. You thought there were stronger songs on the album?
It was more stand out.
Little Things.
It was okay, but nothing that really grabbed me.
Wow, I'm shocked.
Yeah. What about you, Stevie? What's your number 9?
We'll get the second album filler out the way for me. Lonely Heart isn't my number.
What?
9. Lonely Heart. Yes.
that is far from an album, Philip. I think
Yeah,
it's almost
it was.
as almost as sacrilege as what.
I think it was. I think
I
it was.
don't think so. A lonely heart is
Oh
what
dear.
I do, and you came back to me. We
No,
just died, I fear.
It's So Hard and Lonely Heart back to back. You're in sleepy land there.
No,
Sleepy
goodness.
land after them two, believe me.
What? No, wow, goodness. Lonely heart. See, it looks as if, apart from I can. Okay, no, I think I'm looking. I can't find a yellow card, but I'll bring something like this.
No, that's rescinded, mate. That's ridiculous. Ed Mac agrees with me. We've got agreements here.
Yeah, see, might take you for
If anyone gets the yellow card, it's Sheldon for putting little things at number 9. That's a definite yellow card.
It's a great movie scene, but they suddenly don't want to play over again. So edits were saying, yeah, also. My number 9 is sadly I have to agree with Stevie in the bottom 10 or the bottom 2 is It's So Hard to Say Goodbye.
Wow, I thought I'd been higher up for you. I thought it's one of your faves, actually.
No, but it's too sad of a song. Yeah, I can't listen to it too often. Compare that to End of the Road, and you're like, it's almost the same type of song, but saying goodbye, it does. I can't remember who said it. It is a funeral song. It just you listen to it and you think more sad. It's not really a song you want on an album. Maybe a soundtrack, because it's like, okay, it's for a scene in a soundtrack, but on an album, you don't really want to listen to a song that fills you with. So yeah, It's So Hard to Say Goodbye was my number 9. Great song though, but anyway. Okay, now we're getting into more of the.
Now it gets hard now. Now it gets hard. Very difficult.
Yes, Sheldon, number 8 for you.
Simpin' is my number 8.
Wow. Okay.
What?
Simpin',
Yeah.
easy.
What?
Get on
Those songs, man. It's just they sound very dated to me now. It was just that. But the song, they just very dated. It was cool. It was cool. Whatever. That's not we'll just go ahead and just go back to. It's just very dated. If I'm going back for maybe like nostalgia's sake, maybe I could do it. But nah, that's my number 9. I mean, my number 8, man.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that's a hard one, Sheldon.
Wow. Gee, this is why we got Sheldon on, because if we all agreed, it'd just be very. If we all agreed every week, it'd just get really boring, wouldn't it? But it's like this is why we got Sheldon here, because he always throws us for a loop every week, doesn't he?
Okay, Stevie, what about you then? What's your number 8?
I don't know how you pronounce it. It's the one that goes ooh ah.
What?
Ooh. It's the same with the Jodeci album now. From 8 to 1, I'm struggling because they're all brilliant. From 8 to 1, I love all the tracks. I'm struggling like where they should go. I really am, because they could all be like top 3, top 5 tracks, but for some reason I've got found its way at number 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I heard when they did an interview and they mentioned that Michael Bivins came to them and says, guys, you need to write a song called Ooh Ah.
Ooh ah.
So he gave them the title, and he gave them the title of the song, but then just told them they had to write the song with that in there. So so that's a strange one. Okay, no, I had it a little bit higher up. But my number 8 is Little Things.
Oh, you as well.
Wait. Ooh, I was much better than that. So it's Little Things, yeah. Living in but then again, it's not like a bad song. It's just that with 10 tracks, somebody had to be number 8. And as I said, my 8th leaf, it's my least, third least favorite on the track. But is it the characters that did that as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But I had another one of those a little bit higher. Yeah, little things. It wasn't bad.
No.
But I had 7 tracks that were much higher and much more fun than the. Yes. But as I said, it's a good track. There were 10 songs, and you had to put somebody at number 8, and that was it.
I'm surprised it's that high up, though. I thought it'd have been. I think it's a really good swing track, good mid-tempo swing. I just thought it was a really, I heard it a lot at the time. But anyway, what are we on now?
Number 7. Sheldon, what makes you number 7?
Under Pressure.
Wow.
Under Pressure.
That was a
Under Pressure.
That's my to me. I mean, out of all the up tempos that are on that album, it's not many, but that's my favorite up tempo on that album.
And it's number 7.
Yeah, again, not song, but up tempo. To me, it was cool. I mean, I love the samples they used on the record. Love the hook. But yeah, it's number 7, man. Yeah.
And that's your favorite up tempo.
That's my favorite up tempo that they ever did. Outside of another.
Hold on a minute. There's about 3 up tempos that you've not mentioned.
Huh?
Hold on. You haven't mentioned. There's a few more up tempos you've not mentioned yet.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's not my all time. I said that's one of my favorite up tempos on that album. So yeah, not my all time. No. But what I'm saying is that when I listen to that one, it's cool, man. It just takes me back when I listen to the samples, how the song was produced. But
this one's for you, Sheldon. This one's for Sheldon.
Number. You know what? He's already ruled out 3 big tracks on this album. Under Pressure,
big is relative. Big is relative. You know what I'm saying? I just think that the record's, it's a cool record, man. It's a cool record. It's just the fact that when I listen to those records now, man, it's not like when I listen to like a Guy album and those up tempos just really grab me. They don't grab me like that, man. They don't. It's okay, but they don't really grab me, man.
Did they grab you at the time, though? No, not even at the time.
A little.
Wow.
So, are you guys listening to the album and rating them based on how you feel today, or combination of how it was when you first heard it? I'm just wondering how.
When I listen to these albums, what I do is I listen to. Because everything is opinion based, but when I got to go back to when I was younger listening to it, and then why I liked it so much compared to then. But I'll just say that because it was in the vibe of the New Jack Swing sound at that time. But when I go back and I listen to the records now, it's a different type of feeling. Like certain songs on certain albums, like I listened to a Guy album in the same way I felt when I heard the album at 19 and 20. I still feel the same way. I just don't feel the same way for that particular song. Some certain songs. That's all. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Stevie, what about you? What's your number 7?
Number 7 is "This Is My Heart."
Okay. So it's in your bottom 3.
Great track. I love the track, but it's found its way at number 7.
Yeah. So it's the bottom 3.
This is my,
Yeah, well, so it's to the bottom 3. I mean, it's, when we get to the bottom 3, I mean, Sheldon, what's your bottom 3? So, because my bottom 3, okay, is no, wait a minute. Oh, so that's your number 7. So that's 3. Your bottom 4.
Yeah, my bottom 4 were Your Love, Little Things, Simpin', and Under Pressure. Those are my bottom 4.
Wow, man! Wow.
And, what about you, Stevie? What's your bottom 4?
It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday.
Yeah.
Lonely Heart. Ooh Ah, and This Is My Heart.
Okay, so my bottom 4 is This Is My Heart, number 10. It's So Hard to Say Goodbye at number 9. Little Things at number 8, and Your Love at number 7.
You guys are out of this little thing, guy. I don't get it at all.
We're not hating. You could say "ooh-ha," which I thought was even better, but we're not hating on the characters. But it's just that I think Dallas' hand is on that album, and I think
I don't get you both on a New Jack Swing podcast, but you put the New Jack Swing right. You just discard them.
No, it's just the sound. I think Dallas brought out the best out of those guys, and I mean, I have better. I mean, it's almost as if the rest of my stuff is in reverse to what Sheldon has done. But yeah, so Your Love was good, but it was number 7 for me. It was number 7 to me. So Sheldon, what's your number 6?
My number 6 is You know, I remember when that record was out, man, people loved it. And it's funny, my favorite memory of that song was they used to play the video a lot on television. And my father, at the time, my father was probably 50-something. He was in his 50s. And I remember him saying, he's like, man, these people don't even sing anymore. They just moan on the record. It was hilarious what he said. You know, but I know that, you know, people in my age group, they really love the record, you know. But yeah, that's my number 6.
Yeah. I think, yeah. I mean, yeah.
But also too, I will say this. I'm going back to Stevie Street now. Is that when you're young and you got like a little cassette mixtape or whatever, and you got your little young lady or whatever, that's one of those ones that used to be on the tape.
Yeah, goodness. I mean, I yeah, it was. Okay. I mean, I guess it's always hard. My top 5 is it's very hard. It's 10 songs an album. You do have to have somebody that are lower than the other. So Stevie, what's your number 6?
I've gone for one of the characters' tracks, Your Love, the one.
It's just one above mine. So it's not as if we were miles apart.
And I like the way the piano and the way it ends. It's a long track. It's nearly 6 minutes long, but I think I do love the track. I do really liked it. Your Love, yeah, brilliant track. I mean, the ballads, that ballad side is. I'm trying. It made me feel a different way to say the Jodeci ballad side. It was very. I can't put my finger on it though. I do love the ballad side.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. I think that when you listen to what with the balladry on "Forever My Lady" compared to Cooleyhighharmony, Dallas Austin, it was his first time really in the ballad space, and he talked about. I did a research and I read an interview, and he said that he had to go back with some of those ballads he worked on Cooleyhighharmony. He had to go back and listen to Babyface records to kind of like that was part of his creative process. So he was using the Babyface records as a template, in terms of creating those slow tracks,
It's almost like I'm trying to think of the feeling. It's almost like it's like an unrequited love kind of feel in the ballads on this one. Whereas Jodeci were talking about having babies and come and talk to me, these guys were like, it's like they were talking about a woman that maybe didn't feel the same way as what they,
The difference between them is that when you start listening to the Boys and Men ballads, they were in the vein of what R&B contemporary ballads were. But when you saw what Jodeci was doing, they were more of they were more direct, more like, I don't like to say street, but I can't think of another word. But also the way they delivered it, like you said, in terms of they were romantic, but they were romantic in a youthful type of way. It was more of a street, more edgy type of way compared to what Boys and Men were doing with their ballads.
Maybe this as well, Sheldon, because obviously with the ballads on the Joe, you can tell it sounded like it was done in a big studio, whereas the Boys to Men, it sounds like they were recording in a big room with a big piano, and it was, maybe it's the way they record it.
But believe it or not, Dada said they didn't have a lot of tracks to work with, so it was a lot of layers that he was dealing with, man. But I just think that, when you look in terms of what I think Jodeci's, their situation, it was very lush. So it wasn't the lyrics, it was the entire sound. But I think that Boys the Men, it was more like they led with their vocals. Like the Jodeci situation, there was a lot of ambiance going on with those records or whatever. But as with any Boys the Men record, the highlight, even more so than the production, are their voices. So yeah.
Yeah, but I guess when you think about the difference with Jodeci is that they had Albie Shaw, who had already come out with, I think he was on his second album, and they had the Uptown Machine, with Eddie F was supposed to do some stuff. Teddy was there, so they were able to give them the structure they needed. Whereas with the Motown, Biv took, they sorted out Dallas, and they trusted him in what he was doing. But he was still very young, 16, 17. He was still a young kid, so they put a lot of trust in him.
But he had no creative input into those records. The only thing he suggested that they do, It's So Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday. But you're talking about when they're dealing with Dallas. Dallas is a novice. It doesn't take away from what he did, because what he did was a good job. I just think that when you look at those two groups, when you look in terms of what Jodeci is doing vocally, the vocals are in alignment with how people are singing at that time, the Aaron Halls and people like that. So they're right in the pocket vocally. And then at the same time, the ballads are very edgy. They're still romantic. So it's right in the pocket of what's in music right then and there. So it's just like when you listen to Boys the Men, and in a way, I don't necessarily like to compare them too much, because it's good to have more than one. There's a one that's more dominant than the other, but Boys the Men, their sound, it kind of set the tone for that. So it was more of a romantic space in terms of that. But if you were a certain age, I think you might not have really plugged into that. A person was of a certain age, they might not have plugged into that. Boys the Men's ballads were songs that you can listen to on the radio and this, that, and the other. But if you're talking about like getting with a girl or something like that, they kind of like, they probably didn't fall in that lane, but they did a good job.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. Is it fair to compare the two of them? I mean, they just seem like two different groups.
I would say, when I look at them, I don't think it's fair to compare them, but I just said that they come out at the same time. It's like they kind of overlap each other. Like when you think Michael Jackson and Prince, you can't compare them.
Yeah.
People love to do it, but they're two different artists. And it's the same thing with Boys the Men and Jodeci. The only thing that they have in common, they are vocal groups. They're vocal groups. But remember, when you look in terms of Jodeci, they're coming out of the church. Boys the Men are coming out of a technical situation. They're going into the Philadelphia High School of Arts, where they're learning the technical aspect of singing. So it's that all of those influences are they're going to drive their creativity. They're going to drive their material. So,
Yeah. But it seems as if more groups went down the Jodeci route. They just followed them, and that was the church, because most of them came out of church. So that became the driving force behind groups just subsequently saying, "Yeah, we want to be another version of Jodeci." I don't know how many. I mean, All for One. I'm just trying to think groups that follow the Boys to Men route. Maybe Call Me Bad.
Well, the thing about it, but you understand is that when you look at Boys to Men as a group, no disrespect to Jodeci, but you got four guys who are pure singers. You got four guys who are pure singers. It's like when you look at like an En Vogue. I always compare those two. When you look at the epitome of a 90s group, I'm not talking about a lead singer and two or three other guys. I'm talking about the epitome of a group in the essence of that everyone can sing. And when they get on the mic, depending on who's singing the record at the time, they give the record a certain essence. Of course, we see Blackstreet come around later, that's in that vein. But both of them are the epitome of a vocal group. When I think of Jodeci, even though the other two are there, the major vocal component obviously is Casey and JoJo, and that's the centerpiece. But I just think that, you know, when you hear them, people might have taken to them a lot more. Also, too, there's the look that Jodeci had. You know, it's a lot of different things that came into play, but it's no different from when you listen to, you know, singers who are like, let's say, let's use Blackstreet. Let's use Blackstreet, and then let's look at maybe All for One, or whoever was out at the time, Blackstreet. When you look at the Blackstreet Another Level, whoever was out at the time the Blackstreet Another Level album was out, you know, it's just certain distinct characters about those songs that made the Blackstreet album stand out. Let's say Drew Hill was out at the time. Let's use Drew Hill as an example, you know. But Blackstreet, just the different singers, you know, really gave the different vocal textures, gave that album staying power. It made the album very unique, you know. But I think that Boyz II Men, they get unfairly criticized during that time frame. But I understand it, because the music was changing, the look was changing, and Boyz II Men. And you also got to look at that image. That was Michael Bivins. Michael Bivins was putting them in the bow ties. You guys got to check, if you ever can, you got to check out the Michael Bivins documentary, and he talks about him styling Boyz II Men. So he's creating that. So when you see Boyz II Men with that look, and Jodeci's has already set the tone, automatically it's going to just shape people's attitudes and opinion. But Boyz II Men, they look like, there you go.
Yeah, you could have called them the Boys of Bel Air. The boys went to Bel Air.
And here's the thing. If you go back and listen to Bobby Brown, right? And Bobby Brown's talking about when they're styling New Edition and they have all of these coordinated clothes and all of that. He said, that's not me. But think about it, is that Michael Bivins is doing the exact same thing. He's putting them in a color coordinated situation, but Michael Bivins, his goal was always to position them as like a pop group with pop sensibilities or crossover potential. That was his thing, you know.
Just on the mention of Bel Air, there's I seen something tonight on Instagram. And Instagram, but it was a reel or a video clip of you know, Carlton from that guy who played Carlton. They're interviewing him. He was saying, "Look, I've not been able. I barely got any other acting jobs because everyone just wants to see Carlton. I said, I can never get out of that character. You know, he's had the Luke Skywalker effect almost. You know, people come up to him and go, hey, it's Carlton, how are you doing? And it makes him feel sad. He feels pain because of it. He says, I know a lot of people got enjoyment, but you know, but these guys, they are the boys of Bel Air, aren't they?
Yeah, but the thing is, I was, when they came out, I was in Nigeria.
The guy with the Barry White voice as well. What was the story behind? Because he was only in it for one album, wasn't he?
No, he was in there for 4 albums.
Was he?
Yeah, 4 albums.
I thought didn't
he
he
was
get
in the 4th? Yeah, he left after the 4th album.
So he was there. Oh right, wow! I thought
4 albums.
Wow.
He left after the 4th album. But I remember watching them. I thought that they were prep boys, you know, like from Princeton or so. And I was like, wow, these, you know, that. But it was good that they were imaged differently, because it showed the variety. Because if you had everyone looking like Jodeci, you know, R. Kelly had that. So that was the R. Kelly look. That was the H-Town look. You know, that type of imagery. But you needed some variety. And I guess it was good that they did that. I think they also got pigeonholed into they're prep boys. And I think it served them well, because they were able to reach a bigger market. They were able to, you know, even now when they do tours around the world, they do have more high-end club audience members willing to pay more money. They're doing concerts with a symphony orchestra. So financially, they were doing much better than how, say, Jodeci,
You're right. And the thing is with them is that when the music changed, like in the early 2000s, it's like, you know, and when you get on Netflix, there's a show called This Is Pop, and there is an episode called The Boyz II Men Effect. It's devoted to Boyz II Men, and they talk about how influential they were and how all the other groups were really the emotional lyrics, the harmonies, all of those 98 Degrees and all those groups like that, they patterned themselves after Boys and Men, you know, and it was the whole lot, the video, the look, the whole nine or whatever. But Boys and Men talk about when they were like in like 2000, 2001, 2002, when the hip hop R&B, they tried to go that route, and they went from playing stadiums to now they're playing like small clubs where you got like 300 or 400 people in there. So when you look in terms of the music that they made, it kind of gave them a longevity that other groups did not have, because it put them in a position to do a Las Vegas residency. I'm not talking about 2 weeks. I'm talking about 8, 9 years. They're about 10 years into this residency.
Oh.
They got a big audience over in Japan.
Wow.
So those songs, even though they didn't like them when they were younger, it sustained them, you know, 30, 35 years later, you know.
Wow. What's the current lineup? Is it only three?
It's only three. And
Yeah.
they're keeping it with three. They're keeping it with three. I think there was a moment in time where they were contemplating him coming back or something like that, but he was asking for a certain amount of the same money, and they were like, nah, it's not happening.
Mark Nelson did some shows with them just before COVID, in the Vegas residency and stuff. And you know, Mark talks about when they get signed, he's a couple of months older than Nate, and so he's 18, so he's already signed a professional deal, even though he's the one that got the audition with Michael Bivins. But they just couldn't buy him out. They were asking for too much to get him out of his contract. And you know, yeah. So, and he was a writer and he was doing stuff, but yeah. But you know, it is you know, I think also as yet there was another group that also tried to pattern that kind of came in that same line as well. So I think, you know, Boyz II Men do get a bad rap, but I always think that 2 albums sold 20, 30 million. You know, it sold more than all of Jodeci's albums, singles combined, just that one album. This Cooleyhighharmony also did more than 10 million or so around the world. So, but I guess for them it was the fact that they didn't feel like they got recognized within the Black community, which is an important thing. And they always still feel bitter about it, that people hate them as
within their age group. Well, within their age group, people love them, but what it was that they didn't compare to what everybody else. But what Michael Bivins did, it was just kind of like Michael Bivins made it. He wanted them to go ahead and stand out, to be different, and obviously he did that whole collegiate preppy style. But he said that, you know, if they walked down the street and somebody was walking by them, they wouldn't grab their purses. But he said that one of the guys said that everybody started wearing that look, you know, when they saw them. You know, they said they didn't mind it at all, because they were looking at it like they were following the blueprints of R&B groups back in the days, especially with the sweaters and the whole 60s vibe or whatever that is. And it was more of a unified look. But you know, and then all of a sudden they had the canes in there, and then Michael Bivins made a conscious effort to have them take the canes away and leave it for Mike. So there's a lot of conceptual things on them. But I just think that, you know, the level and the Jodeci, it fit them. And I think that, you know, with Boyz II Men, for them, how they look, it kind of, and it gave them a longevity. But I think it's time when probably feeling it to where they were kind of like, I don't say out of place, but they were kind of maybe underlooked maybe by their age group. People like the songs, but I think that maybe they probably just weren't as connected to the group. Even now, there's people have to Jodeci that they don't have toward them. You know.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, we'll still keep on with this as we go along. Could I do no?
Top 5 now? I think we're on
No,
that.
we're not. My number 6 is simping. and simply named. That's my number 6. Get on your hands and knees and get your flight. Yeah, simply ain't easy. I like the whole James Bond intro as well with that ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding. I wonder if they paid him to.
Yeah, I wondered if they did pay any royalties for that. Yeah, okay.
It was replayed, I suppose. It wasn't sampled. They actually replayed it, didn't they? So maybe they got away with it.
Yeah.
What song are you talking about?
Simping.
Yeah.
What's Simping? Okay.
It has the James Bond.
This is what Dallas did. Record. Dallas was influenced by the Bomb Squad, Public Enemy, the Bomb Squad, and their style of production was very popular during that time, where they were layering a lot of samples, stacking samples on top of it. So that's exactly what Dallas was doing. That's why when you listen to records like Playground and all of those records that kind of like in the vein, because remember, Boyz II Men, the Bomb Squad produced a lot of those songs on that album. The stacked samples and that thick, dense production, so that was his lane, so that's because that's the whole Public Enemy influence. But yeah, those samples, you gotta pay them. You see, it's a James Brown sample. There's a few other samples that are layered in there, but yeah.
Oh, okay. We're learning something new. So we're down to a top 5. So Sheldon, what makes your number 5?
My number 5 is This Is My Heart. That's my number 5.
Wow.
This is my heart.
Loving you. That's pretty high up. I mean, that's
sing it again, Namdi. Sing it again.
Yeah, this
really well.
Loving you, kissing you, holding you tight, making you feel good. Yeah. Yeah, do you love me?
Should have been higher up in your chart, Namdi, shouldn't you?
No, I think it's just that I think that their memories.
Favorites really want it. You just,
their memories of the track that I just have from 91, 92. That's when I listen to it, it just takes me back to it was felt a little too slow for me. Okay. So what's your number 5 then, Stevie?
My number 5 is the start of the new Jack tracks. Under Pressure made it number 5 for me. Absolute banger. I remember really turning my vinyl player up. Top notch, and the neighbours banging on the wall.
And believe it or not,
banging on the wall. Turn it down. It's one of them moments. I'm sure. We always used to annoy our neighbours.
Was that? I can hear. Was that Flavor Flav? Sorry for your life. Is that Public Enemy?
It might have been. Yeah, it was. It was actually.
Yeah. Sorry for your life. Yeah. Under Pressure. Okay, that's his number 5.
Oh, great track.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sheldon, did you? Yours was what? Your number 5?
Mine was
This Is My Heart. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was okay.
And just real quick, when you guys were talking about simping also sampled the drums for Poison. So the drums that you hear from Poison, they sampled those. They sampled 2 James Bond records. They sampled the theme from James Bond. They sampled the Kool in the Gang record, and then the drums came from Poison.
Wow. Yeah, okay, I didn't realize that. Teddy Stromberg said something interesting about he didn't realize that Nate wrote a lot of the songs. Actually, I sort of heard an interview that Nate and Wanye and Sean did a lot of their writing before they got to Dallas. But yeah, they wrote a lot of their songs. But I think when they got to the second album, they already had the songs and they wanted to write more. But the label's like, no, we need to get big hitters and we don't trust you. And which they had to, I think they said they had to lie that Dallas wrote the song for the label to agree, even though they wrote it. I mean, that's how much they didn't trust them, even though the first album, they did most of their writing. And I think it showcased their vocals and stuff. But My number 5 is Ooh Ah Do Do Do. I think what I liked about it is I like Mike's part when he comes in. Um, I like when he was featured a lot more on this album, and especially not more than just talking like we have on End of the Road. But I really liked Ooh Ah, and so that's my number 5. Okay, we're down to the top 4. So Sheldon, what's number 4 on your list?
My number 4 is Lonely Heart. That's my number 4.
Lonely heart is what I feel. No one does. What's it? Nate wrote that all by himself. Yeah, he wrote that all by himself. Um, okay. Why did they make it number 4? What was it about the song?
I think that and that record, when I went back and listened to that record and a few others, it kind of like it sets the tone for what these guys are going to do later. And when I listen to these ballads, it's strange because I understand why in certain situations some of the ballads are rated kind of low, because when you hear these songs, you don't hear these type of songs anymore in contemporary R&B. So by the time these guys come out in 91 going into 92 with these records, that style of songwriting, that's another thing too, that style of songwriting is kind of almost out the window. But when I listen to them sing, it sets the tone. It's like it's a blueprint. So when I look at everything that they do after, it just brings to mind that this is a blueprint for what they're about to do throughout their career, So yeah. And I love the harmonies. I love the harmonies of the record, and I just love the singing, man.
So a lonely heart. Okay, that's your number 4. Stevie, what's your number 4?
This is where, as with the Jodeci album last week, my top 4 is made up of what I felt when I bought the album, what were my favourites then when I was 17, as opposed to what I feel now as I've grown up with the album, and how other tracks have become my favourites over favourites that were my favourites back then, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
But this track, it was all over me. I couldn't pin. First, it was around 7-8. Then it went to number 2, and it's ended up at number 4 for 2 reasons. Back then, there was, if any of you went out and bought 12-inch singles, I remember how you felt when you first heard Belby DeVoe, Poison. Remember how you felt when you heard R. Kelly, She's Got That Vibe, and you couldn't wait to rush home to get your 12-inch and turn your system up and boom them out. But also remember how fed up you got of hearing them, because you played them that many times, you heard them that many times on the radio. You still love the tracks. You've heard it too much. But for sentimental reasons, the day before the album dropped, this single, it was the lead-off single. It was the introduction to him. I love the record. I love the 12-inch import, the cover and everything. And like you say, I played that 12-inch so much, but Motown Philly is at number 4 for me. Probably because I've heard it one too many times, but I still love the record.
So you love it well enough to be your 4th best. So as Mike says, it 4 is new number 1.
Well, all right. If we did like a top 10 new Jack records that you're tired of hearing, but you still love, it'd be in that. Motown Philly would be in there with She's Got That Vibe and Poison. You're overplayed, but we still love them. So number 4 is Motown Philly for me.
Wow. Okay.
Great track, though. It is a great track.
Sheldon, what's your number 4? Sorry. Okay, you've got your. No, it's mine. My number 4 is Please Don't Go.
Wow.
Yeah, it's yeah. What did I do to my note? Yeah, Please Don't Go. Which would definitely Are you trying to sing? Yeah, please don't go. Yeah, no. Please don't go away from me. I'll be there for you when you call my. Yes,
Only number 4, Namdi.
yeah. You know what? I've got 3 other tracks that I think of. That I really prefer more. But
Still
yeah,
it's a great track.
it is. Yeah, because yeah. But as I said, this album, sentimental album for me, and yeah, number 4 is.
Listen, guys, I
Please
think we
Don't
should
Go.
give the viewers a Boys to Men. All 3 of us at the same time. Let's give the viewers a Boys to Men a cappella. Should we go for it or what, guys? What song do we all know well enough to all sing at the same time?
You know what? I'm telling you, if we did that, all of a sudden, you're talking about break the internet in reverse.
We all sing Motown Philly at the same time. Motown Philly back again. Doing a little East Coast swing. Come on, guys. Come on, let's go for it.
Yeah.
What?
Da, da, dum, dum, dum,
Come on, I'll count down. 5,
Thank you.
5,
You took my part.
4,
I took
3,
it.
2,
Injection,
1.
fellas. Injection, fellas.
Motown Philly back again. Get a little East swing.
Okay, I can see his attempt to sing. At least mine just goes natural when I'm singing. The closer and the closer I get to you, feels me warm in my heart to stay.
Sheldon could do the Barry White.
I'm gonna do.
Give
Yeah,
your
I'll
heart
do that,
baby.
and
don't
I'll do the Michael
go.
Rivers part. Yo, check this out. I got 3, 4 guys from Philly.
Yeah, he could come in. He could do the rap.
Yeah.
So we're now down to our top 3. The top 3.
Really, we reached that
The
point.
top 3, yes. Top 3. So, Sheldon, what makes number 3?
Please don't go. Please don't go is my top 3.
Wow.
Okay, so yeah, we're not too. Yeah, okay.
Please don't.
Not
Come on,
to-
let's sing that one. Please don't.
Yeah, I've been singing it. I've been singing.
What's the next bit? Da, 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 da. Please don't go away from me.
Yeah, I'll be there for you when you call my heart. I'll be. Yeah, I can't say. You made me forget it now. Okay, so what did you like about that one, Sheldon?
Again, I love the fact that when he starts singing, he goes into the hook right off the bat. I just like the vocals, the harmony. I mean, the guys, man, they sound good, man. They just sing very, very well, man. It's just, it's just like ear candy. But I like the fact that, I don't know who's singing lead on this record, but I just like when you hear the different textures of the different vocals, it's it really stands out for me. But again, it just takes me back. When I listen to these records, the songs are so far removed from either what was out at the time back then and to now, they sound strange to listen to.
Wow.
I mean, they're great records, but they sound in a way it's kind of odd because what they're doing at the time when they're putting these records out, and you put the record like that alongside Let's Chill or alongside I Want to Sex You Up or Forever My Lady, it's just like it's like night and day. It's like night and day. But I just love the singing, love the harmony, and what I try to do was that when I went back and I played all the songs, but I went back again and I played them. I said, well, let me listen to the first, like I'm an A&R. Let me listen to the first 30, 40 seconds of the record. And that's how I kind of also kind of racked and stacked the records or whatever. But yeah, that's my number 3.
All right, Sheldon Namdis, 1991. This album drops. What are you both doing in 1991? Are you still in like college or you've got a job? Sheldon, what was you doing?
I got a job. I got a job, and I remember when that album came out in 91, it was a big deal. And once again, it was like, and I don't mean to be disrespectful when I say this, but it was another example of how Teddy Riley was kind of like, they were like Dallas Austin was like the new guy. The music, it was just like Teddy was kind of like, I won't say fading,
but it was more like now there's other people coming out doing the music, and people were really big on the record. Obviously, the Motown Philly record was out, and people were really responding to it, and it just had the singles. But I think the ones that grabbed people, by the time they would do they had it on lock, man. And again,
where was you, Namdi? Where was you?
Now I was just starting first year in university,
yeah,
and I had the album, and that's what I said. Some elements of university life that I remember when I listened to the album, but I had that album when it came out.
That's my point. It feels like, because I was in college at the time, and it feels like a college uni type of album that you'd buy.
Yeah, that was I didn't have the. I mentioned last time that
you are going, you're transitioning from a boys to a, it was the title says it all, really.
Anybody that was like 25 and under, they were really feeling that record, man. It was just, and it was new, because remember, you still didn't have a lot of young groups out. Like, it would be in a couple of years. They were starting to come. So there was a big buzz, a big excitement. And then the videos were playing like all the time, man. It was just on BET, the whole East Coast family situation or whatever, man. It was they were running them hard, man. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, 91. Mr. Vanya was saying about that was dangerous. Was doing his rounds and stuff. Yeah. I mean, Teddy's always talked about the Jane Child situation and just getting back on his feet. And it wasn't until then, I think he did many remixes in 91. And I think he got back on when he did the Bobby album and Rex and Effect. So it just felt like he just after the Dangerous album. But yeah. So your number 3 was what? So Please Don't Go.
Yeah.
Stevie, what's your number 3?
Symphony ain't easy. Get on your hands and knees and slamming New Jack track for me.
Yeah.
Easily in my top 3. Easily. No question.
Yeah.
Okay.
That track is really dope, man. They do the Coolest Gang, Coolest Back sample, the Poison, James Brown, My Fang, and the JB's Grunt, and just stacked them on there. He said it. He said that he was really influenced by the Bomb Squad and also what Teddy Riley was doing. That was his version. And one of the things is that with Simpin, Dallas was only supposed to do Simpin and Motown Philly. Those were the only 2 songs he's supposed to do on the album. And the group wanted him to stay on and produce the whole album. And they were like, wait, can you do ballads? And that's what he did. He had to go back and study Babyface records to learn how to do ballads for them, So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I still love that song. And my number 3, I'll give you a hint. The closer and the closer I get to you keeps me warm to know that I'll stay around. So please keep your promise to me and don't go. A lonely heart is what I'm feeling. If no one cares for me, let me show you how. I mean, I love the track, and I love the fact that especially when Michael was singing it as well.
Your face is priceless, bro. You just got transported back into 91, man.
Transported back in, especially because Mike barely sings, so he's singing in that one. So that was his version that I just sang, the closer and.
But Jesus, I need to get to that funeral where they're playing it so hard to say goodbye to you yesterday after that.
Yeah, so that was definitely one of my that's my number 3. I really did love that track. So
I mean, that's a David Foster moment coming out there, isn't it, Namdi?
Okay, it's the first time we've heard about him in the stuff. Almost every interview, even John B talks about David Foster because he did a track on Cool Relax. Who else talked about David Foster? It just seems as if that name pops up everywhere. But yes, Lonely Heart's my number 3. Now we're down to the top 2. Steve Sheldon, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is Motown Philly. Motown Philly is my number 2. And it's really a perfect introduction to who they are. And it's a dope record because it sets them apart from the other groups because it's telling the story of who they are. Obviously, there's the Motown aspect of it, and then there's the Motown, the Philadelphia situation. So it was a perfect branding. It was branding before branding, you know. So that was really dope. And of course, the video was right in alignment with them, you know, because you saw the video there in Philadelphia. They had Geno's eating cheesesteaks, and they're in different sections downtown, down in South Street, and just, you know, it was great, man. It was great branding, great introduction to who they were. So that's my number 2.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Okay, well, you put it up there, and definitely an amazing track.
It's a classic. It is a classic. It is a bit of a classic. That can't really argue with it.
Yeah. So that was written by Dallas, Michael Bivins, Nate, and Sean. Stevie, what about yourself?
Similar to last week when my top 2 one was based on a favorite when I was 17, and the other was based on a favorite that I feel as a middle-aged man. It's changed round this week. This time I've gone for my number 2. It was a favorite when I was 17, and I'm a big fan of the Characters productions. You know, I bought all their productions back then. Little Things, I used to love playing that record over and over again. Just give me goosebumps. That's at number 2. Little Things is really high up in my chart. Still love that record now. Great little mid-tempo New Jack track. Little Things mean a lot. Oh yeah, I love that record.
Yeah.
It could have made my number 1 actually, but
wow. Okay.
The middle-aged man has got me on my number 1 this week. So.
Okay. Yeah, my number 2 is and you guys have already shared it and stuff. Under Pressure.
Wow, I'm surprised that made so high. Wow.
It was the you know, you know, Dallas almost took the same the same framework he used for Aisha. He just took it and this, so let me just make this Under Pressure stuff. So yeah, I just loved it. Yeah, probably yeah. As I said, it's the second favorite track on it. I loved how it went. I just loved the whole production. Yeah, the energy and stuff like that. The samples, you know, favorite plays there. How it starts with the whole John and James Bond's theme and stuff, and he just goes into it. And they were able to incorporate their vocals, their vocals into it as well. And yeah, completely different album than Forever My Lady. You know, there was you couldn't. Well, it came out at the same time, but you couldn't say that they were similar. Completely different kind of production. But I love that track. Yeah, Jim Beats, not this time around.
No, don't want to disappoint viewers, but we ain't got the same. We have not got the same number 1.
I can't imagine what their number 1s are, but anyway, before we get there, people might be wondering Under the Road. So it would never be Under the Road because Under the Road was not on their original album, and all the other remixes that they came up with subsequently. So this was just their debut album. You know, if we did a Boomerang soundtrack, that would be it. But anyway. Sheldon, do you want to do your 10 to 1?
My 10 is Your Love, 9's Little Things, 8 is Simpin', 8 is Simpin', 7 is Under Pressure, 6 is 5 is This Is My Heart, 4 is Lonely Heart, 3 is Please Don't Go, and 2 is Motown Philly.
And then what's your number 1?
My number 1, and I'm gonna set this up for you. I'm gonna jump into my Stevie Street bag. Yeah, so bear with me. So here's the thing: when you look at Boys and Men, obviously from a singing perspective, super dope. And when you look in terms of the whole conceptualization of them as a group, Michael Bivins, slightly older, and he branded the group very well. Obviously, we talked about as far as the look, because he wanted to set them apart from everybody else who was out at the time. Okay. Now, because they came from the Philadelphia Performing Arts School, they were high school students, and they're singing. So Michael Bevins sees the angle from them to where he's making the connection, because these guys are singing, they're high school students, and he's making the connection that they are from Cooley High, which is Cooley High is a school in Chicago. It's a vocational high school. But also Cooley High is also the name of a movie, a popular movie that a lot of us in the Black community that we love. I would say if you were probably 50 years old, maybe I would say at that time, 22, 23, 21, you knew Cooley High. You knew Cooley High, and it was a big deal when the final scene at the end of the movie where the song is actually playing. So that song was in everybody's DNA. So when it was his idea to have them sing it, so when we're hearing the song, we're automatically connected to the movie, and then we're also connecting it to the album title. So it's really a lot of synergy that's going on there. So it's just like they just threw a song on there. And then lastly, the song really symbolizes these guys are singers. Like when you listen to a lot of New Jack Swing era groups, the background vocals are like an afterthought. They're mixed very low, and maybe everybody's not a strong vocalist, maybe one or two guys, man. But this song really solidified that these guys are true singers. And obviously that song is Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday. And that is the cornerstone. Everything on the album is dope, is great, is contemporary, but It's So Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday is the song that locked them in, that separated them from everyone and established them as pure singers. Obviously, think about it. It goes back to Michael Bivins, because again, the New Edition aspect of it, they're patterned. New Edition is patterning themselves after 70s groups like Blue Magic. That's their DNA. So Michael Bevins is imparting that historical musical reference from Black music, and he's inserting that into the whole Boyz II Men brand. So whether it's the unified look, whether it's the clean cut situation, him having them sing that particular song, and everything that they're doing, everything, and it kind of, when I look at that song, it kind of centralizes them as a group, not as singers, but as far as their content. Like I've been saying before in the entire show today, is that Dallas had to go back and listen to songs like Whip Appeal when he was creating Please Don't Go. So these guys, man, they're inserting everything that came out before them, and they're capsulizing it in this album, and that song epitomizes that. There may be other songs that people may like, and it kind of it stands out, but it goes back to, if you listen to like certain R&B songs and albums in the 70s, they always threw you curveballs. So it may seem like it stood out and it didn't sync with the rest of the album. But if you were like 22, 23 and older, you know what that was. It was like you getting the inside joke, or you understand that. So that's why that record is my number one record from that album. And that song played a lot. That solidified them. And I think that set the tone for Babyface being able to write those type of songs. They were right for them because of what they did with It's So Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday. So that's my reason why that's my number one record.
Okay.
Doesn't surprise me that, being that you're the Black music historian. I had a feeling that would be number one. Actually, it does make sense. It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I think that record is an enduring record for them. Other ones, they're great moments, but I just think that record stands out. Whether it was listening to it back then, and listening to it now, so, and it sets the tone for their career, So
I
that's
used
my
to
number.
like it a lot more when it first came out. I think I probably just now I don't like it as much as I did before, but I used to enjoy it before. Okay, Stevie, what about yourself?
Number 10 was It's So Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday. Number 9 was Lonely Heart. Number 8 was Ooh Ah. Number 7 was This Is My Heart. Number 6 was Your Love. Number 5 was Under Pressure. No, sorry, number 4 was Motown Philly. Number 3 was Symphony. Number 2 was Little Things. And my number 1 is very much a middle-aged man choice. It's something that I listen to a lot now, and have for the last couple of years. I think it's the only ballad that could make the Jodeci album. If you was to pick a track that would pick a song that would be on a Jodeci, I think this one would be it. There's another moment I remember as well. The video is on YouTube. I was in New York. It might have been, I can't dates. It might have been 2010, 2009. And I was hanging out with Andrew Knight from NGS3. He was in New York and was doing a bit of record shopping. We went to A1 Records, and then we ended up going to Brooklyn. And you can watch it. It's all with video. We did a video blog of it. And we went to this. It's not really a record shop, but it's got thousands and thousands of records in the basement. It's called The Thing in Brooklyn. You go downstairs into it, and it's like a maze of vinyl. You can spend all day in there. But we're on the upstairs, and I think they were selling fridges upstairs, but we found this cabinet full of CDs. So I'm picking these getting all these CDs out, and he picks out one CD, and it's a promotional CD single of this number 1, and it had a different picture cover on. I thought, I've never seen this before, and it had the radio edit, album mix, and instrumental. And he didn't collect records. He didn't collect stuff. He's the type of person who doesn't have a load of stuff. And I just went, do you mind if I have that? And he looked at me, because I'd never seen it before. And he went, yeah, go ahead. And he gave it me. And I've never seen it since. But it's the track that the R&B group One More covered recently with Mary J. Blige in the studio. They brought the song back to life. And it reaffirmed that. I thought, yeah, this is a classic. So Please Don't Go is my number 1. And I cherish that CD single. That Andrew Knight, if you're ever watching, thank you very much, sir. Because it's a, very collectible CD single, that.
But you haven't seen it since then?
I haven't seen you since Andrew or the CD single.
The CD single.
I haven't seen the CD singles. You could probably get one off Discogs.
Oh, did you throw it away? Or
No, I've still got it. It's got a brilliant picture cover. It's just a lovely CD single.
It's not like you, Stevie. Normally you'd prop it out and say, yeah, and this is...
All right. It's in my racks here somewhere. It's in my single racks, but I shouldn't put it out, shouldn't I?
Okay.
But what a track, please. Oh, it's a killer track. It's
don't go closer and yep. Please don't go. Lovely. Yeah. It's beautiful. Yeah, beautiful track. Starts off the album beautifully.
And if you want to watch that video, I'm sure it's on Andrew Knight's NGS3 page somewhere. I'm doing a bit of record shopping in America, so well worth a look. You'd be blown away when you see the thing actually, and the amount of records that are in there. It still blows my mind now.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna go for my top 10. This Is My Heart is at number 10. It's So Hard to Say Goodbye at number 9. Little Things, it's at number 8. Your Love at number 7. Simpin is at number 6. Ooh Ah number 5. Please Don't Go at number 4. Lonely Heart at number 3. Under Pressure at number 2. And I guess for me, when I think about my number 1, is just the fact that when these guys were introduced, they look like kids of my age. They look like they were having fun. They came across as a male version of what En Vogue had just done previously, and it just felt like just such an upbeat, happy type of a song, but also a group. And prior to this, I mean, you know, I think we heard about Will Smith talking about his childhood in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and to have these guys coming out with a track, and they were dancing, and I think we forget that Boyz II Men came out dancing. You know, I think subsequently we saw them with their slow ballads and stuff like that, but they came out, they were dancing, doing their thing, matching outfits, and it's such a, you know, even if I listen to it now, it still brings back the vibe of happiness, and I still think it's still a great song. I don't know if I would call it a New Jack track because it didn't sound New Jack, but it was a solid track for me, and that's Motown Philly. Sorry. Motown Philly as my number one.
East Coast swing, Namda. The East Coast swing. Remember?
Yeah, I mean, live and direct from Philly town, rapping, hyping, we can go down. I'm here to go. And I mean, back in school, we used to sing about this every day. Could it really happen? All the dreams just fade away. Then we started singing, and it said it sounded true. And we started grooving. Here we are singing it. I mean, it was just simple words and stuff. Yeah. And then, you know, and I think also seeing, you know, BBD in the video and stuff like that, you know, it you know, that whole, you know, they had the video director, Lionel C. Martin. He did a lot of videos where he would change the color. It would go black and white and blue and gray and stuff like that. He did a lot of those videos, which, you know, he did the one for Back Guy, Let's Stay Together. But yeah, it was just, I just love the whole vibe of it. Philly, just seeing all that stuff, and yeah, Questlove was in the video, playing drums when they had the little stuff in their apartment. It was just, yeah, it was as I said, it was just a fun vibe song, and it still stands out to me today. So it's my favorite.
Like I was saying earlier, it's a classic track.
You know? Yeah, really? Definitely. So that is definitely, I mean, as I said, I mean, it's an amazing album. I think it's strange that it's a classic album on its own, and I think it's I don't know, two different audio. I think most of us. I mean, if you listen to when Woody has come on, he said that when Dru Hill started, both he and Cisco had one of those albums each, and they swapped, and they both said, "Wow, they were inspired by Boyz II Men and Jodeci." But it's amazing that both groups came out in the same year, and they hit differently, and they've gone on to have staying power. But they're still good friends. There's no competition between them personally.
I've got about 10 copies of this version. You know, every time I go in a charity shop, and it's there for like 50p or 50 cents, I can't leave it in the shop. I end up with, I've got it stashed. I've got copies of this stashed everywhere in bags, in carrier bags everywhere. I still see charity shops now.
How many of them do you have?
You don't see this one because this is like an American copy. I bought this in America.
Okay.
So this is my American copy. I've got the original American vinyl as well, because that's the first thing that I bought. I bought the Motown Philly 12 first, and then I got the album, the US album copy, after it when it first came out. But that, if you go in any charity shops in the UK, you should see that for 50 pence. So no excuse. Get yourself a copy.
Chin Beach was asking, is this regarded as two?
That's the original.
Is two regarded their best album, or would you say Cooleyhighharmony?
Chin Beach says what? Get the
if their second album, Two, is regarded their best album.
Nah, it's this for me. This.
Okay.
That's my opinion, though.
Sheldon, do you have a preference between the two?
I think Two edges it out slightly, but I understand why Steve said that first one is it for him, because with Two, they're moving away. Obviously, now the music is changing because Two comes out in like 94. So New Jack Swing is kind of like gone, and it's hip hop R&B is kind of like on the horizon, but Two doesn't reflect that. It's just a a R&B record doesn't have a lot of those elements in it. But I think in terms of two solidified their staying power, and it just built the records that were on there were just so big. I mean, when you look at what they were able to do going into 2 from 94, and then they go do the situation with Mariah Carey on One Fine Day. It's just like these guys were just going to the stratosphere, you know. But if you're looking at a record that has really classic up tempos, I mean, that first album actually does it, because they try to do up tempos later in their career, and it's kind of hard for them to pull it off. I think right around like 2001, they come out with an album, and they got the basketball jerseys on, and they're trying to do they're trying to update the music, and it's not working for them, you know. So I think the first one, when you look at as far as up tempos, that first album is a perfect example of their version of New Jack Swing and their version of doing up tempo records. But if you look at it, they kind of just, I'm sure they perform those records in concert. I've never seen them in concert, but I'm sure they perform them. But I think later, as they got older, they realized, you know, maybe this is my niche. So you never see them really just come out and start to do a lot of up tempo stuff. But I think it also takes away from their singing. At heart, these guys are singing. It's like, say, for example, I like to go ahead and just throw an analogy. There was a group that came out on Motown in the 60s called the Four Tops. And they were like on Motown at the same time the Temptations were. And the Temptations were known to be good singers, but they had choreography. And the Four Tops were like, well, we don't, you know, their choreography was minimal, and they just really focused on the singing. Of course, we know Boyz II Men, they can do choreography, but their niche is that flat out straight singing. But 2 was I edge it out because obviously they built on the first one. It's like the first album was classic, but the second album is like, you talking about, there's no such thing as a sophomore jinx with those guys, man. They just went to another level, and they just didn't stop, man, for about, you know,
it seems the bigger tracks came after this album.
Yeah, they did.
End of the Road and I'll Make Love to You, which are arguably they're 2 of the biggest tracks you've ever done. And
think about it, is that from 91 to 97, 6 years, these guys were killing it. You talking about, you know, the songs that were on the albums, and like you said, they were doing the soundtracks like Mama, and you know, it's just, man. And then of course the Evolution album. So between 91 and 97, it was like,
big run.
And think about it. I'm gonna tell you something. Is that when you go back and look at what Casey and JoJo were doing as a solo act, it kind of was in the vein of Boyz II Men. When they're doing All My Life and those records like that, that's in the vein. You can hear that's the Boyz II Men influence. So, you know, you got to give it to those guys, man. You got to give it to Boyz II Men in terms of what they were doing. But yeah, if you're looking for a blend between up tempos and ballads, that first album, it doesn't get you better than that, you know?
Yeah, I remember. I think one of my top 5 favorite songs is "On Bended Knees." It's just such a. I prefer. I didn't really like "I Make Love to You." I thought it was an okay. I just felt it was like I felt it was a little cheesy. But when "On Bended Knees" came out, I can still remember it. It was, you know, it was I think I can still remember it. Thanksgiving when the video first came out. Loved the song, loved it. Evolution, when they came out with Evolution, I remember when they came to Milwaukee. I was living in Milwaukee at the time, and they were performing "I Can't Let You Go," the Puffy track, and they were dancing again, and it just didn't fit because they'd gone away from that. They were doing their ballad stuff, but with Evolution, it was like, yeah, they went to Puffy for some hits to look hype, and they were dancing "I Can't Let You Go." I was like, what the hell is this? I just couldn't. I was watching them live, and I just couldn't. I was like, no, man, this doesn't fit, because they were trying to. Yeah, we can still do it. We're part of. You know, we've got the little bad boy springing power. And then they've subsequently said that 98 Degrees took their budget. So Motown was like, man, we need some of that in sync money, in some Backstreet Boys money. So they got 98 Degrees and put all the money in 98 Degrees and said, yeah, Boys to Men, you guys are a little too difficult for us to work with, which wasn't the truth. They wanted to be, get involved more. But I think somehow that Evolution album just switched us off. They went away from what we kind of grew to love, and they tried to fit in. It's like chasing a Timberland beat or something like that, and it just took them away from their core stuff. And unfortunately, that was it. After that, I mean, they came out with a second album, a fourth album, but I think
and that was the album they got when they started. They went from playing stadiums to playing clubs where you got like 200 people, 50 people in there. It just dropped like that quick. And I remember and you were in the States, Namdi, at the time in 1997 when they came out with the Evolution album, and they did a BET world premiere, and they did the video, and the video was filmed like they were in like 3 or 4 different countries. It was like after the success of the first 2 records, the budgets were high. These guys got they got their own studio. Motown funded the studio, Stone Creek. These guys got a label. They start producing people like Uncle Sam, and people love Uncle Sam to this day. But yeah man. And again, it just didn't. I think they just at that point they had just peaked when they did that. What's the name of that song they did on Evolution? 4 Degrees or whatever it is.
4 Seasons of Loneliness.
Yeah, man. I think at that point people were kind of like they were just they had kind of moved away from them, because now.
Andy, do you think Boyz II Men ever flew on a jet plane?
No, I don't get that.
They ever got on a jet plane? When they probably flew around the world. Do you think they ever flew on a jet?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, Namdi, do you think they managed to land that jet plane quite well?
Stevie seems to be talking in parables, but
you know what I'm talking about, don't you? You know what I'm talking about.
But I think because we're not going to be, we probably won't do the rest of their albums, but it'd be interesting just as we just we've gone through.
We could do an overall top 10 one week, just get all the albums together, then just do.
These guys, man, you talk about between those first 2 albums, man, that's the equivalent of somebody's career. Yeah. Somebody's entire career, those first 2 records. And then it's like then you add the soundtrack songs that were in between, just oh my God, just
yeah. But as I said, we can't, because somebody asked, could we compare my Forever My Lady with Cooleyhighharmony, and there are 2 different albums, and they weren't looking to compete. And actually it's great to appreciate the fact that we were getting real good vocal groups coming out and making a mark, because we had so many groups that came out that just look at that Trisha Covington's album, but without the right push and without the right support with radio and the label, it just becomes another hit and miss. And it could have happened to these guys, but we were fortunate to get them and to come up with subsequent albums as well. But anyway, Sheldon, Joyce Irby's interview drops tomorrow. What do you tell people about tuning in for that? What are the things should they expect?
I think that people should tune in to the interview for a variety of reasons. One, it continues Namdi's ability to engage with female creatives and get their perspective of what it's like to function in the male-dominated music industry. And then 2, to see how a person who makes music in one era that has been able to reinvent themselves and embrace all of the new technology and the new components in terms of creating and distributing music. You know, it says a lot, because when you look at Joyce Irby at the time when she's doing the part of that whole Dallas Austin situation, she's 34 years old, you know, and a person that's 34 years old in 1990, man, they're firmly aligned with the music of their era, like a, you know, her and like a Luther Vandross or somebody like that. But it's a perfect, it's very inspiring, it's very motivating. You're going to listen to her spirit, you're going to see her spirit come through, you're going to see her motivation, you're going to see a lot of things that are very inspiring. And for me, I learned a lot, but I came away from the interview, it was a reminder to me that no matter what my age is, whatever endeavor that I want to go ahead and explore, there's no expiration date. You know, it's never too late, as long as you're willing to embrace everything that's new, everything that's current. You don't have to leave something in the past alone, you know, to embrace something that's current, but you have the ability to take what you knew and acquire something that you know and put those things together and come up with art. So that's what it is for me.
Okay. Well, guys, it's been another great episode. Good album, and yeah, great that we're celebrating them. And we will let you guys know when we're back for another show and another edition. I hope you guys are enjoying what you're seeing and listening. But for us, we can't do this without your support, your comments, the fact that you know, as you could tell, the three of us had completely different songs in different order. You think we're listening to a different album, but I also saw that most of you guys had different songs up there. So it was definitely, it's always an amazing evening for us as well. But from Stevie, Sheldon, and myself, we want to thank you. And yes, we will. Yeah, we'll see you guys when the next one comes out.
Andy, as I always have, one last thought to all the viewers out there. It's so hard to say goodbye. So hard to say goodbye. And as President Putin says in Russia, we all must go. Good night, folks.
Okay. See you guys. You see me live with TL Cross, I think on Wednesday. So that should be great.